rocks.
So we got a little stunt, we got a little rock. Well, we got a lot of both, actually.
Yeah, a whole lot.
We got a whole lot of both, and magic. That's the thing. This should have been called
magic.
Yeah, this thing could have like
Magic Stunt Rock.
Magic Stunt Rock. Yeah, exactly. Because like I expected the stunts, I expected the rock. I didn't expect all that magic.
Yeah,
that was a bonus surprise.
That was not advertised on the front of the.
No,
seriously.
box.
Like I looked. First of all, the poster, like if you haven't seen it, is fantastic for this movie. It's a rad poster.
That poster is always in demand.
Yeah.
For a movie that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
I think I actually learned about this movie from the poster years ago.
I could see why. It's a fantastic poster.
Yeah.
Well, I learned of it when Tim League, the originator of the Alamo Drafthouse, came to Phoenix on a road show with Don Coscarelli to show the
Phantasm.
To show Phantasm. Was it? I think it was a 4K.
Yep.
Yeah, 4K restoration, and then do a Q&A. But then, as long as he was there, he wanted to do like the weird Wednesday, the mystery movie night, the same night. So then, he brought the digital package that had the movie on it, and it was The Astrologer, which is also another movie from the 70s that is not available in really other format than 35 millimeter, is my understanding. And of course, AGFA has a copy of it, and they digitally scanned it off the 35, so they have a copy of it in DCP, but not necessarily supposed to be distributed in any other way. So he showed that unreleasable for whatever reasons, but I'm sure we've already figured out why this is probably unreleasable, and we'll get to that in a second. But Tim also wanted to have a bunch of trailers that AGFA just recently scanned of different movies that were from the 70s or of the same kind of ilk that would work with The Astrologer, because I would think that was 72, 73, 74, somewhere on there.
Astrologer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think early 70s.
Mid 70s, early
75
to mid 70s.
At latest.
So one of them was Stunt Rock. Never heard anything, never was on my radar. And so, and Tim wanted it, cranked up. He just kept saying, turn it up, louder, louder, louder. He wanted to be like, concert level as you're watching it. So I didn't know what to do with myself. And then, but it's, it's stuck in my brain. Sure. And I'm like, I have to back catalog this. And if I happen to remember it again, I'll, try and find it.
I definitely saw that trailer. It must have been, in another pre-show at the Alamo, or it could have even been at Fantastic Fest, but I know I've seen that trailer.
Yeah. So I don't remember I think there was the wizard in there, but it wasn't like a focal point. You maybe just saw him like doing the blast explosion.
Yeah, well, that incredible poster, I think there's nary a wizard to be found. So like the wizard, that was like a definitely surprise wizard.
So searching
two wizards,
searching this out was fairly easy, relatively, I guess. I'm good at finding things. I'm a finder. And this is under the... I know what it was. I know what happened. Is because Umbrella, who released this, is an Australian distributor. That's where I found that Lunatics that we did. Right. Lunatics, A Love Story. And as I was digging into their catalog, this thing picked up on Stunt Rock, and I said, that can't be like the same thing, but it's on
Show enough.
The same director who did The Man from Hong Kong, which I haven't seen either, but a lot of this Ozploitation films. But it has so this is a long story. This is my goddamn Rick and Morty story from last time. The Man from Hong Kong, released by Umbrella Distribution on Blu-ray, 1080p, remastered, whatever, blah blah blah. But then it has a bonus on the same disc, Blu-ray disc, but in a standard edition, an SD edition, Death Cheaters, which you said is that the documentary or just like a short 45 minutes?
The Stuntmen is
the Stuntmen. Okay, so it has Death Cheaters,
which is also a special feature on Dead End Drive-In.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I remember we had talked about that a while back.
Arrow released Dead End Drive-In, which is from the same director.
Yeah.
And there was a number of bonus features on that, and one was the Stuntmen, which is on that. It did not include Stunt Rock.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So this one has Death Cheaters, standard feature, audio commentary with director, executive producer, second unit director, and lead actor. Then it has Stunt Rock, standard feature, with audio commentary as well.
Oh, shit. There's an audio commentary on that?
Promo reel and theatrical trailer. Kung Fu Killers, standard feature. Danger Freaks, standard feature with theatrical trailer, and the Stuntmen in standard.
You know what's so weird to me is that this thing is not advertised as like, Brian Trenchard Smith collection, that it's just advertised as The Man for Hong Kong, and then like you have to look at the special features to see that, oh, by the way, there's like 3 other movies on here.
You like this movie? Here's 4 more you might like.
Seriously. That's crazy, man.
So right after we wrapped up with this, it went right back into the hat.
Yeah.
Because
there's
more stuff to enjoy.
I'm down, man.
Including The Man from Hong Kong.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. And I'm a super fan of this director, and I haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, Brian Trenchard Smith. I mean, now this is I guess third film, because I did watch The Stuntman as well. Mm-hmm. So counting Stuntman, this is the third BTS film I've seen, and damn, I'm definitely a fan as well.
Dead End Drive-In is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Straight up saw Dead End Drive-In within the last couple of months, and it is already skyrocketed like one of my favorite 80s movies. I mean, that thing is, because it's not just a fantastic, stunt movie in the parts where there are stunts, but it's like, I mean, it's actually like means something. It's like a really important satire. It's funny as hell. The design is great. The music is incredible. Yeah, I freaking love Dead End Drive-In. So this was honestly a total treat. I was like, Stunt Rock, hell yeah, man. I haven't seen this, and I love Brian Trenchard Smith, and this thing delivered, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it started a little slow, because I'd seen The Stuntmen, and it seemed a lot like The Stuntmen in the beginning.
Yes.
Like, it seemed like just a really kind of like low budget, Australian documentary about stuntmen. And then freaking the sorcery started up, man. Like, so the entire soundtrack in this is done by like a hair metal band named Sorcery.
LA based.
Yeah.
I was concerned at the very beginning only because you don't know where it's going to necessarily go or how much they're going to show you, because it does begin with a staging of a particular stunt, but then once it goes into the opening credits sequence, it shows a bunch of quick stunts, people flipping over bikes, cars exploding, driving into each other. I'm like, if they're just showing you the quick cuts of what they're going to show you in the rest of the film, that really blows, because I hate that.
Totally.
To have like their little montage of what's going to come up and what you're going to see. And they didn't. It's like, I don't think they repeated themselves at all throughout the whole thing.
No.
Unless they showed a couple things from different angles. But even then, it's like, that would be grouped together. So you'd see it from 2 different angles. It wouldn't be like repeated throughout the film.
So I was reading that apparently the reason why they did that, like, because I was just reading up on a little bit in our little break, and because it was, most of that stuff was filmed on 16 millimeter, and the aspect ratio is more of a square, right?
That makes
sense, that's why there's doubled up or 2 different angles, because they wanted to fill the whole screen.
Mirrored image.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I like the fact that this band Sorcery is like not particularly great, like, I mean, look, I think the music is fine, singers not so hot, and they're it's like they seem to be kind of like a B-rate, 70s,
and that's what they are.
Totally. But it's like, but what they lack in, maybe full-on talent, they make up for in passion and straight up pageantry and theatrics, because you've got, and those are like, I love the stunt sequences, but like my favorite parts of the movie are basically, this is a concert film of sorcery, and they've got like this whole thing with like a wizard and the devil fighting each other, and just straight up magic acts, like sawing people in half, and disappearing from boxes, and fire and birds and all this stuff.
Turning into the devil.
Yeah, man. And it's like all set to like just this heavy metal music with just like really bad, like, just screaming.
Well, you said it was Spinal Tap is what it was.
It's so Spinal Tap.
Very much.
Like genuinely to the point where, because I will say this, I'm not like an expert in the stuff that Spinal Tap was obviously parodying, right? So, I mean,
you talk to any band. And anybody that ever talked about Spinal Tap, and they said that's exactly what it's like. Didn't matter if it was Metallica or if it was I don't know, like BB King. They said, this is spot on what every single musician goes through. But the thing about Spinal Tap was, and with sorcery, it was the hair, it was the theatrics, it was even kind of the tones of the songs.
Well, because I mean, you take things like I know you had things like Iron Maiden had really big stage shows.
Alice
Cooper, totally. A lot of those guys had really big stage shows. But I definitely think that there's something about the tone of this, of like the kind of fun but self-serious, like in the time of magic, like that whole kind of thing.
This is very Iron Maiden and Judas Priest light.
Right.
Like very much so.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I think, why I love it.
Did they have as much like actual full-on magic acts?
I don't know about their shows at the time in particular, because I mean I wasn't around for them, but the lyrics,
the lyrics are straight up
Dungeons and Dragons.
It's so good. I know. He's like, the Wizards Council meets. So good, man. Oh, whatever.
Why the keyboard player is wearing a burn mask?
It's so good. It's so good. It's a hood, by the way.
Sorry, a burn hood.
And he has a hood for every occasion.
Well, and I love it. I love it. They're like, they get so much mileage out of it, because like the first time someone's like, "Why are you wearing the hood?" And he goes,
"Why do you wear a hood?"
Why does anyone wear a hood?
Oh, how does it feel?
Uncomfortable.
And I was, fucking right answer, dude.
He's got the like kind of the drapey kind of sparkly hood.
Right. Yeah.
He's got the red one. Right. That's close. That has like a little bridge nose. Like I said, a burn victim hood.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's terrible. I hated looking at it. He had the black one, but then he had the sparkly one for when he was on stage. That was like kind of the mirror mosaic one.
It really reminded.
So it like it played to the back of the room type thing.
It really reminded me of like in Popstar, it's like to like wear that mask, and it's like he's even like the keyboard guy, and it's so good.
If he's actually trying to hide his identity, or if he's just trying to be something that's a little off kilter, that's fine too. But it's that long yellow hair.
Yeah.
So if you were out and about and you knew of sorcery, and he's there just out getting a sandwich all together, and he's not wearing his hood, you would identify him right away. You wouldn't say, well, that's a groupie of his best buddy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, so? In L.A. in the 70s?
In the late 70s, yeah, totally. I think, who knows?
No, I'm saying 1981, sorcery is done and over with. And a couple of the guys are just hanging out, and then the keyboard player's there too.
Totally. Yeah, but they're going to go, "You're the keyboard player." Honestly, I don't know why people do it. There are bands that do it. I mean, obviously Daft Punk, wears the mask. Like you have, Marshmello, like there's a lot of people. But there's this band I really like named Clinic that they all wear doctor's masks. I don't know why people do it. I mean, I think it's kind of cool when people do.
The Art of Noise did it back in the 80s.
There you go.
We know what they look like now.
Obviously, the Residents,
Mr. Bungle did it due to the label. Because they were on different labels, and they weren't allowed to do live shows showing their face.
Yeah, okay.
So they wore like those gimp
Interesting.
masks. Yeah.
Obviously Slipknot,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so... Yeah, Guar, right? So yeah, but I love the fact that they played it for comedy. I like there's the one part where, somebody said to him, take off that stupid hood, and he took it off, and there was another one, different color underneath.
It just needed like the little boing.
Totally.
Slide whistle.
Yeah.
Supposed to be the Phantom of the Opera. Now you take that stupid hood off.
Really good stuff. So what would you call this? Like a mockumentary? I don't know if a mockumentary, but it is definitely a kind of a fake documentary. Like this thing's not a documentary.
It's a pseudo documentary because I don't think it really pokes any sort of fun at either the stuntman scene, for lack of a better word, or even the rock scene. I think that somehow this framed together. I don't think somebody set out to make a movie about stunt rock.
Right.
I think that, obviously he did the Stuntman documentary, or I think earlier than this. And so that
was like mid 70s.
He's used a lot of stunts in a lot of his movies, so it was probably on his mind. Maybe he really went to LA and saw Sorcery and was like, this band's awesome.
Totally.
Let's do something with this.
That's totally possible.
There is a narrative. There's a screenplay that it's credited to two different people, and one of which is the director. So it's got to be an interest-based, sort of thing. Like, I want to do something with Sorcery. I want to focus on some stunt work because that's what I like doing. Let's figure out a way to put it all together.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, just in terms of how we're going to structure this thing, saying, well, it's about a stuntman who's working on a movie and he's hanging out in LA and he meets this, reporter. And so she's asking him questions about being a stuntman. That's going to give us an excuse to show clips and stuff like that, and then also they keep going to the show of this Sorcery, which is going to play over a lot of the stunt stuff. I mean, it seems like a perfect marriage. It's like nothing I've ever seen, really.
Shit, now I wish Quentin Tarantino had like a Sorcery moment in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know it was kind of a little bit after that.
Well, but, I know obviously that Cliff was based on, it was specifically off of Burt Reynolds and his stuntman. Right. I can't remember what his stuntman was. I know it was specifically based on that, but there were little things like, for example, when Cliff is just in his car and coming down the hill and just like screeching around the corner and stuff like that just felt like was a direct nod to the way that what's the main guy's name again? Page. Yeah, Grant Page. Grant Page. Yeah. That Grant Page just drives his car, just like that felt like it was a nod. You also very much get, there's simply no way that Tarantino is not a fan of this film.
Oh, I might have, now that you even name dropped him, I might have found out about this movie through him or saw the trailer through him at some point. Following him.
Because I know that, for example, on the Death Proof, the special edition, DVD Blu-ray thing, there's some really good special features talking about practical stuntmen and how important they were and the history in the 70s and stuff like that, kind of going off of Stuntman Mike. And I definitely feel that, he must have seen this stuff. He's basing a lot of that.
Of course, because look at, Zoe Bell is a
stunt woman.
Right. And a big focus in a lot of his films.
Yeah.
And also, his love for just Australia. Ozploitation basically put the stunt people in the most harm's possible way.
The Road Warrior.
What was the Road Warrior? The one where he flips over the bike into the ditch is the dude almost died from that. And they're like, yeah, we're keeping that in there.
Yeah.
Well, I think even the stunt person said, "No, you got to keep that in there, man."
I'm almost paralyzed.
That's amazing.
You need to keep that.
Yeah, exactly, man. I definitely dug it though. There was just, I think it moved at a quick pace. I think it was paced really well. There was every time, it's like, okay, I'm a little over this part, then you'd have another musical sequence,
right? I just wish if I knew the music a little bit better.
Sure.
I think that's really the only complaint that I would have with it.
I couldn't understand a lot of the lyrics. They'd be screaming stuff. I have no idea what they're screaming.
I'm in desperate need of the soundtrack now.
Yeah.
And I already looked it up. It is available
Really?
And I think I'm going to pull the trigger on it.
Do it.
And then the whole catalog of sorcery.
So the sorcery catalog, I'm glad you brought that up because I found it pretty fascinating in the 2 minutes it took me to go through it. Stunt Rock soundtrack, their debut album.
Okay.
In 1984, now we're jumping, 6 years later?
Yeah.
They did the soundtrack to Rocktober Blood, which I never realized it was them, but that is a highly coveted record. I mean, it goes for hundreds of dollars on the secondary market. It's since been re-released and more obtainable, but it's a low-budget slasher film that I've never seen. But it's, write that down. Rocktober Blood.
Rocktober Blood for the win.
It fits in with that Trick or Treat and Black Roses era rock and roll nightmare metal horror films.
My favorite.
And then in 2000, they released an album called 2.
Wow.
Which I would assume is their second album.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of crossover in the first 2. And that's it.
2000.
But they're, as far as I'm aware, they're still active. they're an LA based, band that I don't think ever really they're content.
Are they still doing the stage show?
I don't know. I'd like to think so.
I would hope so.
But I mean, they're pushing.
Is he still wearing the burn hood?
That's what I want to know.
He wears the burn hood, but now it's like got LEDs and lights up and everything. You know?
Maybe he joined Daft Punk.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. I liked how they did the one sequence too where they had a bunch of the old stuff, the early stunt work.
Yeah.
That stuff was honestly
the silent era.
That stuff was crazy. That stuff blew my mind more, honestly.
Yes.
Because that stuff is like
barnstorming and
that's like such it's of an age that I mean, those are the true people that are trailblazing at that point, and there was no freaking safety measures taken back then.
No.
There's at least some safety measures. We have the experience of all of those years of people doing things and getting hurt and learning safety measures. Back then, I mean, you had a dude literally jump roping on the corner of like a girder in a building, a skyscraper under construction.
right.
What the hell?
And then you have like what I love is that everyone's a stuntman mentality of those films too. There was a clip of a biplane flying. So you have the pilot who's actually flying the plane. You've got somebody doing handstands on one of the wings, and you have the director of that film off on the side cranking the camera as he's filming it.
Right.
That's amazing to me.
It's freaking awesome.
Speaking of directors, this was a stab at directors.
Oh yeah, there is some jokes lobbed over to the way.
Well, I don't even know if they're necessarily jokes. I mean, I guess a stunt person could probably say, oh, we've always gotten the. We're not the the main star or anything like that, and we're putting our life on the line, and we're taken for granted. We're just told what to do and hurry up and get it done. They don't take their position seriously. They really nailed that.
Yeah,
a lot. With the director coming out, you stupid stunt fucker, do your goddamn job.
Right.
You're 11 minutes late because you were hospitalized.
Yeah, get to work. What are you doing? We're getting, we're set up. The sun is the only thing that's wasting time is the sun, or I don't know, whatever the phrase was. But I don't know. I mean, it introduced maybe some humor to it, but it maybe just went a little bit too much. Like why? I'm
and
somebody
agents too.
And agents too. But I like to have an arc to something. I like to have some sort of completion. I mean, I would have thought like maybe that one where he goes through the windshield on fire and he's like clawing his way out and he's still on fire and it's just like going on and on. And you're just like, oh my God. Like if you save like something like that at the end of the film and then the director's like, oh my gosh, man, you put like everything you had to in that and you could have died. That was amazing, and then they high five and then, freeze frame at the end, just something to give like make the director appreciate the stunt person.
Yeah.
No, the only real payoff at all, like
he goes on a date with that lady, right?
Well, I mean that's yeah.
Well, no, the whole
but
crowd shouted the dude's name.
That's a good point.
This is for
That's a good
you.
point.
That's true. What the film scene didn't see in what's his name?
Grant Page.
Grant Page, sorcery did.
Exactly, it's true.
So he was able to create a movement combining stunt and rock. That was his idea.
It's a good point.
Yeah. But
it's the birth of stunt rock.
But I was actually thinking more of the comeuppance.
But what if you had? Okay, so fine. So let's say this stunt rock thing has exploded, thanks to Grant Poppenhappen and Miss
Grant Poppenhappen.
And Miss Magazine writer who wanted to, explode this thing out. And then it actually happens. Then you have the director who gave him shit this whole time, comes up to him and is like, "Oh, you're like the biggest thing ever." And he's like, "Fuck you, mate."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you got to do
just punch him.
A little something, you got to put something in there.
There's also...
it teeter-tattered between it being like what we were saying, is it a documentary or is it just kind of a commentary on the stunt people, or is this an actual like narrative, and then just in between you have like
it's all of those.
I mean, I think you're definitely
it is
putting in more thought than they did. I mean, I definitely think that for them this is an experience.
Yes, and like you said earlier, it's I do think a lot of the stunt stuff was already shot in Australia, then figured, well, they just need like an edge. They need something to not necessarily pad it out, but add something to it.
What it felt like, right, is that when you have something like a clip show, right, of a sitcom, and then they have to have something that brings it all together, or like if you have an anthology film and then you have like the framing device, right? That's kind of what it felt like. It's just, but it is a very big framing device,
right? And then, and some of the stunt stuff was like greatest hits.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd run into a character and they'd get to know each other and they'd say, "Well, what are you known for?" "Well, have you seen Gone in 60 Seconds?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 3 minutes of car chases.
Which again, like as you brought up earlier,
yes,
is
probably why this movie hasn't been widely distributed, because there's a lot of clips from a lot. Other than Gone from 60 Seconds, I don't know where all that other source material came from. I mean, who knows?
It was like the Wild West,
20 different movies,
especially because it was an Australian film, right? So they had different rules over there. They're like, screw it, we're going to use all of it, Yeah,
it's like Turkish Star Wars or something.
Yeah. Right. I wonder if it actually ever got released here. Do you know if it ever showed?
Yeah, it got a theatrical run.
Oh, it did? Okay, gotcha.
Hence where the one sheets came from.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I don't know anybody that ever was like, I saw this movie.
Oh, sure.
And I've been looking for it my entire life. I think it's all the cult people that have found it since.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's also possible that Sorcery's music is attached to some label at the time that won't negotiate,
right,
to release the film.
It seems possible, but since it's all Sorcery, since it's all one band, I definitely, if I was going to guess, would say it's more just the clips of every other movie this thing used.
Yeah,
the licensing for all those that have. I mean, I
imagine all the silent film footage is
that's probably public domain by now.
If not, then certainly by now, But yeah, Gone in 60 Seconds footage.
Well, that's like, isn't that like Warner Brothers or Universal?
Yeah, it could have been Gone in 60 Seconds on its own, because the other ones are probably a lot of Australian films. But then they showed like those other two, like couple of stunt guys, and showed some of their clips. Who knows? This thing's got to have clips of a lot of different movies in it, and who knows where they all come from.
I wonder if it's on the commentary.
It's a good point.
I mean,
Let's go.
I'd like to hear it for sure.
No, I thought they did a good variety of things. Even the stage stuff, even though the first few clips of the concert footage with the wizard and the Prince of Darkness were chasing each other, and then the denouement of that particular song, they repeated that a couple times, but then they did step it up as it went forward with the other things. And I appreciated that too, because I'm like, okay, another song that I don't know, and then another thing where they're going to rise up and do this or that. But they actually did some stuff that was pretty cool.
Totally.
I mean, even to today's standards. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're working, I think I mentioned Chris Angel or something, or David Blaine or anything. But still there was some stuff with the sword and
I still don't know how they did a lot of this. I still don't know how they do the friggin' bird thing, man. Like, I don't get it, man. Yeah. But it's you don't really want to know, know? I mean, I don't really want to know, man. It's fun. It's magic.
Yeah.
I would, if I went to see a sorcery show in 1978, I think I would have got my money's worth for sure.
Bro, like, I was upset that I didn't go to that show. Like, I don't know if I've had FOMO this hard since, like, Stop Making Sense. Like, holy shit, man. To be in that audience, holy crap. And they were just having a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you be, man? And they were just weeded to their eyeballs, man. Like, forget about it.
The whole set probably was.
Oh, that was like that. You thought that was smoke from all the fire?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Nope, exactly, man. Like, such a blast.
They brought that Australian kush over for everybody.
Like, cause straight up, like, I would have just watched a sorcery concert film.
I would too,
and I would have been like, hell yeah, this shit's awesome. And then you throw in a bunch of stunts and stuff as well, like, and again, like, sure, there's like kind of like boring, like, talky parts, in between, but even those I didn't mind because they were really far and few between.
They never last that long.
Yeah.
I mean, the plot does not get in the way of this film.
Totally.
The intro to a narrative is I forgot this guy's name like 4 times already in the podcast. It's so good.
Stint Krakenpapper.
When Stint Krakenpapper injures himself on the first set that he's doing for this TV series, he goes to the hospital. He escapes the hospital by climbing out the window.
Yeah, down 2 stories.
Funny.
And the reporter that just happened to see, this person got injured on television the night before.
Yeah, I need to know more about him.
Happens to have just driven up at the same time, and he's like, "All right, can you drive me to this, or let me drive your car? I'm a crazy person that just climbed out a window." Totally. And she's like, "All right, cool." And he does, and he gets to set, and nobody apparently realizes he was in the hospital the night before, even though it was reported on television.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, you're late. Get back on set.
Exactly.
Get dressed. You have a scene to shoot." That's how we're introduced. This is like 3 minutes, if not less.
Plot,
dude.
So
you can't say that they dragged that out at all. They knew what this movie was. Mm-hmm. It was stunts and it was rock, and they put as little bit of mayonnaise in that at all to make it stick together, and that's it.
What about the part where he strings up a rope between 2 buildings and then crawls out onto the rope and then pulls out a rotary telephone, and which apparently is like connected. You can see connected to a line, and then dials up the girl from right outside of her window to ask her out on a date. Yeah. It's so good. Man. And there was the whole like plot about the actress who wanted to be able to do her own stunts and she wasn't allowed to, and that did get some payoff because she was eventually allowed to do her own stunt.
Yeah, she screwed her agent over.
Yeah.
At the end there,
exactly.
Got comeuppance.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was preventing her from doing what she wanted to do.
Right.
So there's your plot.
Thanks.
Done. Stunt Rock.
Cultfollowing.co.
Chicago.
Washington.
Houston.
Las Vegas, New Mexico.
By the way, before we leave, that is absolutely not how a recording studio works. You don't get everybody in one room,
right?
Stage them like they're on stage
with like flashing lights in the background.
I don't even know if they had flashing lights, but you don't sit there and swing the microphone and do your stage show as you're recording
with your dog laying across the
dog
console.
laying across the console.
They do, and cats do. That's fine.
Oh yeah.
Hey. You don't know how sorcery makes that magic happen, buddy.
But I know how a goddamn recording studio works. I did it for 15 fucking years.
I'm just saying,
that's not how it works,
man. You need to produce like that dog produces, man. Then that's how you get that sound,
just
man.
Fall asleep.
It's magic. Yeah, exactly. Just fall asleep across the thing, and then it makes itself. Exactly.
Right. My sweat goes into the capacitors and shorts everything out. It's the Electric Dreams type thing.
Yeah.
Just, spill stuff all over the console, and then it breathes a life of its own.
I dig it. Let's try it.
Bye.
Tempe, Arizona.